Right, we're back at Superbike Factory. Something different today. Remember what we did the other week, where I picked out 3 bikes, and they were the the sort of bikes that have gone out of production. Well, this week I'm going to be looking at 3 adventure bikes, which I think really do take, you need to have a look at, because they get overlooked a little bit. So I selected one, which is, you're all going to shout at the screen at me when I first show you that one. I'm going to show you another one, which is a real reliable workhorse, something that you could just rely on and travel around the world on, and one which is an absolute screamer. But I think all 3 are actually good value and worth a look at. So come on, see if you can guess what I picked. Let's have a look at the first one. Come on. Right, so here's my first bike, and I can hear you all screaming at the screen. You must be bad. Pan American. But you know what? This is one of those bikes you've got to do your research on, because the issue with the Pan American really started in the sort of 2021, 22, and most of them, if not all, the problems with the Pan American sort of stem from the software. Because there was an awful lot of intricate bits of kit on these, so I think they had a few starting issues and stuff like that. But it's quite an advanced vehicle, because remember, you had things like self-leveling suspension, the active suspension. As you come up to a junction, it would lower automatically to make it easy to get on and off. So there was a lot going on with these bikes. And once you get into that 23 plate, 24 plate, these bikes are sorted. But there's one of the things I would say, if you do go for an early bike, then I would certainly look to take it straight to the nearest Harley dealership, get them to do any updates on it, get it plugged in, do all the software updates, because that will sort you out to a point. you always look at these things, sort of temper them with a little bit of sense. Be careful. But looking at the Harley, I mean, it came out purely as an attempt to just combat or to compete with the GS. When you look at the specs on this thing, it's a 1250cc bike. It's a whopping great bike. It's not a small piece of kit. But 150 horsepower from that twin. What a fantastic piece of kit. But it is heavy and it is big. Let's have a sit on it. Let's dump my phone. It is a big bike. Oh, make no mistake. But wow, to go touring on, just absolutely amazing. And it's not. It's one of those bikes. I like those bikes where you got a lot of bike in front of you, and this you have. You've got your adjustable screen. You've got a nice LCD on here, but everything's good. The components are good quality. And the other thing is, you remember that engine. A lot of the main components on this bike, the drivetrain and the engine, they're tried and tested, and they do a lot of work. They've done a lot of work, and they're just really good, solid workhorse components, aren't they, really? And I don't know what you think about the styling, but I actually like the styling of the Pan America. I think it's a really nice bike. I think the front is a bit interesting with its square headlight. When I was talking to Dave the other day, let's get off this thing. Oh. When I was talking to Dave about, square headlights on bikes, they didn't age quite so well, did they? But I think in this, guys, I think it actually works. So bikes to look out for in this one. If you can get the active suspension, awesome. Because they brought these out to really, as I said, to compete with the BMW, with the GS. So they priced it accordingly, sort of 16,000. Because when you look at a GS now, you look at the 1300. It's an incredibly expensive bike. If you want to spec wheels up on your GS for the dealer, you're looking at 20,000 quid, aren't you? And that's the thing. And these were always a good buy. But what happened with these, because of the problems I had sort of in the 21, 22, it suppressed the prices. So when you now get bikes which are sorted, This bike is a 24 plate. This is exactly where you want to be. But again, we're in a dealer, don't forget. We're sub 10,000. We're in the 9,000 odd mark. We're thinking about 9.7. The other interesting thing on this bike is done 10 miles. You know, someone's bought this, stuck it in the garage, never ridden it, you know, for whatever reason. So he's done 10, you're getting a bike for 9.7 plus fees, etc., with 10 miles on it. So you're getting a brand new bike essentially for half price, I would say, essentially half price. That's not bad, is it? But I think it is a lovely bike. It's like it's just come out of the showroom. It's more your big cruising. It's like a cruiser adventure bike, isn't it, really? It's not something I would take off-road. And I know it's a little bit left field for me, but, you know, I like a Harley. But I think this was a really good attempt at coming into that market. So that's my first bike, the 150 horsepower twin Harley Pan America, which, when you shop around, is a very, very good buy now. A very good buy. But you've got to, you know, I think you need to be fairly beefy to own it and move it around and all the rest of it, because it is a heavy bike. Right, let's go to something which is a lot safer, shall we say, as a buy. Let's go from the sort of cart horse a little bit to the Labrador. Come on, let's look at another one. Going from something which is perceived as quite risky to something which is as safe as houses, isn't it? From the Harley to the V-Strom. Now the V-Strom, do you know, it's one of those evergreen bikes, and it's one of those bikes. I sort of see it as a bit of a Labrador, and it's just a bike you can rely on. I can remember going across when I went to North Africa, Morocco last year, and meeting a guy, and I saw a few V-Stroms, and I met a guy from I think the Netherlands, and he had the 650. This is the 1000. He had the 650 V-Strom, and he swore by it. He said, you know, all I ever do is get on that bike and just trundle around. He said, and I've done thousands and thousands of miles. And he had no qualms of just picking that bike up, taking it down to where I went, right through Europe and all the rest of it, without any problems at all. And I think that's what some of these bikes are. And I think the Suzuki gets quite overlooked in that respect. But it's an incredibly good bike. Very reliable, great engine. But the V-Strom is one of those bikes which is sort of gets overlooked a little bit as an adventure bike. But it's ever present, isn't it? And it's another one of those sort of bikes that when you've got it, you know that it's actually a really good bike. And it actually, quite interestingly, compared to the other two bikes that we're looking at today, the actual prices of these are quite stable. And it's not a bike that you have to worry about buying. I'm going to lose a lot of money on this. You could, you know, get a few years out of it and still not recoup your money, but just all you're going to get is a sort of standard depreciation. Certain bikes, certainly when you buy the new, you lose a huge amount of money when you walk out of this showroom. But this is a bike that sort of settles after that initial decrease from new, and it stabilises really well. You go online and you'll see rocket ship miles on some of these bikes. So the 1000cc bike, which this is, the one I do like in particular, actually, I'll just sit on this one, is the yellow blue. I don't know if you've seen the yellow blue one. That's such a cool bike. I love those sort of garish colours. I think they're great. It's proper Suzuki colours, isn't it, in the blue. But this bike here, you're looking at sort of 5,500 miles, and a very similar price to that, about 5,500. It's a lot of bike for the money. And what I like about it, you've got a certain amount of analog here. You've got a nice analog rev counter, LCD. So we are sort of going back a little bit in time, aren't we, from today? But that's what gives it its reliability. And I just think it's a bike that, you know what, it doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel unwieldy, and you do feel that you could do some off-roading on this bike. Very simple. It's no, you know, it's not keyless and all the rest of it. It's simple, straightforward design and engineering, but with Suzuki reliability. It's another one, but do you know where you could, this is what I did when I had my Honda. I bought spares to take with me, oil filters, stuff like that, brake pads, clutch plates, things that you could just buy and take with you, which don't cost a lot of money. There's a lot of aftermarket for this bike. But what a fantastic piece of kit. And it's not too tall. Whereas the Harley, you've got that lowering suspension, all the rest of it, and actually didn't feel it at all, but you could tell the difference in the weight. The problem with big heavy bikes like GSs and Harleys is that they are a bit of a dead weight when they're not moving. This isn't like that. This feels like it. This feels actually even better than my CB500 did. It's got nice weight balance to it. And the styling's fantastic. You're not spending a king's ransom, are you, on a bike like this? So let's look at those sort of buying specs on this bike then. So 2020 plate, 9,000 miles on it, give or take. And you're looking on the road, probably it's going to be about 5.8 for a bike like this. So you can see it's held its price. It's held its price. And I think that's an indicator of how well thought of these bikes are. But I think these are worth looking at. If you want something reliable, whether it's a commuter or to do everything, you want a bike that does everything, apart from being a classic, your sort of classic style. But it's a classic adventure touring style, isn't it? Without a doubt. And for the money, I don't think you can go far wrong, really. You really can't go. And it's a bike that you could take to other dealers, and they won't shy away from servicing it. Right, from this one, now we really are stepping it up a gear. Come on, let's look at the last bike. Right, yes, you must think I really have fallen off a cliff this time. Or was it falling at the pram? The Ducati DesertX. And without doubt, I think this is actually the best looking adventure rally style bike on the market. I don't think anything comes close to it. And I think the interesting thing, when people think about Ducati and they think, oh, I don't want to touch Ducati, they're either too fragile or, you know, they're expensive to run. But that's not actually the case. And I'll give you a point. You've got to qualify that statement, haven't you? So people always get very scared about the valve check on this because it's that Desmotronic system, and you got belts on this as well, so it's still a two cam belt system. But that valve check doesn't need to be done until 15,000 miles. Now, if you compare that, say, to an Africa Twin, the Africa Twin is 13,000 miles because I've had one. And the Africa Twin, actually, for the valve check, I can remember coming to a Honda dealer with my one, saying, oh, I'm going to need the valve check doing. How much is that? They were looking at £800 plus bits, you know. This isn't anything like that. And the interesting thing with these bikes is that, again, that's a tried and tested engine, a Testostrata engine that's in the Multistrada and other bikes, and it's incredibly robust, really robust. And if you're prepared to warranty a bike which is, you know, doesn't need belts or anything for 15,000 miles, that's phenomenal. And the interesting thing is, if you buy one of these and you bought it new, you're going to get you can have like the service package from Ducati, which is incredible value, fantastic value. But this is the thing with bikes like this. I think there's a lot of sort of, not old wife tales, but there's this sort of baggage that comes with bikes like these, which are historical, and it doesn't ring true anymore. I can remember my Monster that I had, which was one of the very early Monsters. It was the first of the fuel-injected Monsters, and that you had to do the belts, I think it was every 2 years or something. These is 5 years or 15,000 miles, which is fantastic, isn't it? So looking at a bike like this, you're looking at a 22 plate bike. It's got 3,000 miles on it. Again, when you look at this, when you think what it's got on it, we've got the auxiliary tanks. So this will get you from here to, you know, the other side of the world. 21 litres in the front. You've got another big 2 tanks at the back here, sitting here, auxiliary tanks. They're expensive options on a bike like this. You are probably looking at close to 20 grand. This bike is for sale at the moment in this dealer for 11 plus fees, 11, which is a phenomenal piece of kit. Let's have a sit on it though. I think the thing is, immediately as soon as you sit on a bike like this, you can feel it's built to do a job. I got a steering damper here, which is nice. I think that's again, it's an extra. The other nice thing you got the upright screen which is what people like at the moment, isn't it? The other thing you've got, side-mounted filler. Reason for that, a lot of companies don't do that. What they Triumph do is so that when you've got it on a side stand at the petrol station, the tank is upright, you can fill it fully. People forget about that. But it, you know, it's built to do a job, and it's going to do it. Okay, 900 cc's, we got 120 horsepower, so it is a bit of a racehorse, isn't it, compared to the other two? I can remember being on my trip last year, and there was a French couple, young French couple, and they had one of these, and wow, everybody looked at it. As soon as it started up on the boat, as we got through customs, wow, you know, it was an awesome bike. And the other interesting thing is, I know we talk about, you know, the march of the Chinese bikes, but when you think about a bike like this, you could buy this, you could get all the way down to Africa, no problem at all, and all the way back, you know, maybe 6,000 miles, something like that, similar to what I did on the Honda, and you wouldn't need to service it. You take a Chinese adventure bike, you're going to have to service it twice before you get back. That's a key difference, isn't it? I think it's worth thinking about. You know, when you buy a product like this, the reliability and the durability of the engine is such that it doesn't need servicing continually. You know, you're not picking up swarf in there, and that's what makes these bikes a really good buy at the moment. But 11,000 for this, you know, they actually got two bikes here in the 11,000 bracket, but this is 11,000 dead, you know, and with all those extras, with 3,000 miles, that's nothing. That is nothing. This will really do the job you want it to do, and I wouldn't be fearful of taking this off-road at all. You know, that's what it was designed for, really. Fully adjustable suspension, front and rear. You've got the engine bars on here as well. It's going to protect all these bits. Fantastic. Do you think I'm mad or not? I don't think so. So of the three bikes, what do I think is the best value? I think you have to say the Harley. Currently the Harley is a really good value bike, but I think it's a bike that you might only want to use for touring, really, but will really give you a nice feel. I think for me, for a bike which, if I'm on a budget, I think the V-Strom is a very difficult bike to overlook, but I think if you really want to treat yourself and have something which every time you open the garage, I think, let's go on an adventure. I'd have the DesertX. And when you look around the styling of it, those twin headlights, and I say, it's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And don't be put off by what you think is going to be high service costs, because they are not high on a Ducati. Surprisingly, they are not high. Anything with that twin engine, that Testretta engine, they're not difficult to service. They're not expensive. And it's worth looking out for those service deals that the main dealers do on these. It's a great bike. It's a great bike. What do you think of my choices? Gone from the sublime to ridiculous to the crazy, I think. But I just think there are bikes out there that get overlooked for the wrong reason. I think you need to do your research. If you want to go safe, go with your Hondas and your Suzukis. If you want to go exciting, go with your Ducatis. If you want to go for comfort, go for your Harley. Right, thanks to the Superbike factory for letting me have a go in their toy shop again. It's always good fun coming here. I'll put a link to all the bikes at the end of in the description. But yeah, thanks to the guys here. It's always really helpful. One last thing though, it would be rude, wouldn't it, not to go at least one of these bikes, just have a bit of a play. Come on, let's do that. And you can guess which one I'm going to take out. I'll see you on the road. Well, did you guess what I was going to come out on? Yeah, of course it was going to be the DesertX. That's such a cool bike. Come on, let's head off to Africa. I feel like an adventure. Right. I'll end that video there because I'm going to review this bike, but not today. I'll say that for another day. But thanks again to the Superbike factory for letting me play in their lovely toy shop today. Great bike. So don't forget, I'll leave a description and the link to the bikes that I've looked at today in the description there. Right, take care. I'm off for a play. I'm heading down to, I don't know, Dakar. So I might be some time. See you in the next episode, everybody. Take care, ride safe.